Hello and welcome. I am Excellent and this is my podcast. Rob is here today. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Tracy. Seems like ages since we last talked.
It feels like months. Okay, so Rob, what we're going to do today is we're going to have a little fireside chat. What we're going to talk about is what we're all going through at the same time. Being locked indoors. And we're going to talk about how it's affecting us. We're going to talk about how it's affecting other people. We encourage people to leave your comments below. We're just going to see how it goes. This is something unlike anybody alive, I would imagine, has ever experienced before in this country. And I think it helps if we can talk about it and let everybody know that we're all kind of feeling the same. Or maybe we're not. Maybe you got a different way to look at it or something, but we all are in the same predicament.
Can I just say before we kick off, can you smash that like button, subscribe, and share?
Yes, please. So, I haven't left the house in about it'd be about 5 weeks. And I'm an introvert. We don't like to leave the house. But when you're forced to not leave the house, it's like when you're a little kid and someone tells you not to touch the burner. You know you probably shouldn't touch the burner, but when they tell you not to, it makes you really want to real bad. Yeah. Just kind of going through that right now.
Yeah, both me and Tracy are introverts, and I don't like being told what to do. Which is pretty much the story of my life, really.
Rob and I have always joked that our perfect ideal situation would be to be in a bomb shelter with, Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that stuff, with like all the food we need, and me and him just alone. And where I'm needing a bomb shelter right now.
Well, we could have it stuffed. We're both diabetics, so we would fill it stuffed full of all the stuff you're not supposed to eat, so we could slip into something more comfortable, like a coma.
Yes, that would be good. So, so what I would like to do is talk about the timeline and how it affected our lives from the beginning to now. Would you like to go first and talk about where you are, which is Britain, how the timeline affected you, because it has affected how you are allowed or not allowed to see your children right now as well?
Yeah, it's... To be quite honest with you, I don't know how long I've been in lockdown now. I've got two daughters. One of them is with their mum. One of them is with me. And it originally was only going to be for a couple of weeks. But I don't know if it's the same in America, but the government keeps changing or moving the goalposts, so to speak. So some take it's 2 weeks, 12 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months. Well, no one knows where they're up to. Businesses are the only things that are allowed to stay open are shops that sell food, pharmacies, chemists, and the supermarkets, obviously, because they sell food and everything else like that. You're supposed to only be able to travel if you're going to work. You can only go to work if you can absolutely not work from home. But we've got a lot of building work going on around us, and everybody's working, so I don't know how that's supposed to work. But yeah, we have a little dog, and we took the little dog for a walk a couple of times, and the police, we sat down just for a couple of seconds, and the police came and moved us on. So yeah, it's more difficult for Grace, I think, because she doesn't like to be in at the best of times. So it's really, really hard. I'm finding it hard. I think if I had both my daughters here, I would find it more easy. I would find it less difficult. But obviously, Keisha is upset when I think you can FaceTime, and which is brilliant. And I don't know how I would have coped without the fact that we've got FaceTime now and Skype and everything like that. But I just don't know what I would have done without that. Not being able to be in touch. See, I don't know about you, Trace, but sometimes I think it's worse when you can see someone, but you can't give them a hug, so to speak. You know what I mean? Especially when it's for your child and it's a young child.
Yeah. Well, I have a daughter who's pregnant and due in June, and I've missed quite a bit of her pregnancy, and will likely miss the birth of her baby, and I don't know when I'll get to see that grandchild. And we live in the same state. We live a couple hours apart, so that's very strange. She can't come visit with her other children. My daughter Maya can't come over, and both Rob and I are immunocompromised.
Yeah.
So we have to take extra precautions. So all of my children, except for my 17-year-old, have been deemed necessary is not the word. What is the word that they're calling certain workers? Essential.
Essential.
So they've all been deemed essential. My pregnant daughter, she can work from home, but Maya has been deemed essential, which is very difficult because she works she works by a major airport, and so has contact with a lot of people, and she's very scared, and she's not with her family. So that is, and it's very hard for us to tell her that she can't come over, because unfortunately, like, as everybody probably knows, or if you're new to this channel, you might not know that I also have asthma. So it's very likely that if I was to get COVID, that it would be fatal for me and for Rob as well. Yeah. So knowing that, but still having to send your child away is difficult. The timeline for me was we were going to take, I was going to say a road trip, but I don't think that 18 to 20 hours constitute a road trip. I think somewhere along the line it veers off into insanity. But we were leaving from Texas to drive to Arizona. And it wasn't that bad, right? It wasn't really that bad at the time. But something happened. It literally felt like hours that it was just progressing at a rapid pace. We stopped at the grocery store on the way out of town. People were, buying all the toilet paper. And we thought, well, we didn't think that like that was gonna be a permanent issue. Once you can buy so much toilet paper, but then are you gonna keep buying all that toilet paper? Yes. By the way, they do. And they were taking a bunch of water, and what we did do was grab a whole bunch of water. Because my son, they weren't able to get water where they were already. So we got there, and within hours, we were being told to social distance. So he lives in Arizona, and as of today, even they don't have a shelter in place in Arizona. They have not taken the steps to do that. But my daughter-in-law has an autoimmune disorder. As those of you who have been around for a while know, my grandson was born at 27 weeks gestation. We were actually there because he and I share a birthday 2 days apart. And so we went for his first birthday, but his immune system is not what it should be because of how old he was when he was born. And so the three of us we took Maya, my son, my husband, and then my oldest son was there as well. The three of us were our autoimmune compromised and couldn't leave. So we were already staying in the house. Then it just got worse and worse to the point where I was like becoming panic stricken because there was no food in the grocery stores. Although for some reason, I had said to my husband, try going to the Hispanic grocery stores. And because most people were hitting the high spots, the common grocery stores. And he went to the Hispanic grocery stores, and their shelves were stocked full of food. So he stocked up on, not on meats and stuff because we still had to travel back, but canned, boxed items, things like that. Got a whole bunch of that. And then we were there for 5 days or something. And then we drove back, and he literally felt like he was going out and foraging for food because there was no meat in our grocery stores. But all this happened within the course of like 6 days. No meat in the grocery stores. There's no soups. I mean, the shelves are bare. So my little community that I live in, people were posting and saying, hey, this grocery store got an order of like chicken breast or hamburger or whatever. And so he would run there real quick and be able to bring home meat to put in the freezer. We cleared out our freezer of everything except for so we could put meat in it. And of course,
do you move that dead body?
Well, no. We cut it up in smaller pieces.
Okay.
But as most of you know, within a couple of days of me coming back from my son's home, my father passed away from, as it turns out, COVID. I had spoken to him before I left to go see my son, and he called me on my birthday, And we talked that day. On the day we were driving, now the day I left, I spoke to him, and he had been sick. He had been having flu-like symptoms, and he lives in Washington State, which tells you a little something about, for those of you in the United States, it was the first state hit with COVID. But my dad lived on the east side of the state. So he said to me, there aren't any cases of COVID on the east side of the state. But he called his doctor. My dad had COPD, had surgery to remove part of his lung. And he's a diabetic, and he's on breathing treatments. He is the top of the list of people who should get a test. He called his doctor, and his doctor told him there was nothing they could do. They didn't have tests. They would turn him away in the emergency room and told him to stay home.
It's ridiculous.
It's infuriating. So I spoke to him by birthday, and he said that he thought he was feeling a little bit better, which is actually very common with people who have COVID. They start to feel better around the second week of being ill, and then if it's going to go south, it goes south. So I spoke to him on the day we left, and he said he was starting to feel sick again. But again, he had been told there's no tests, there's nothing we can do, write it out. Now keep in mind, as I said, he is the top tier. He's 75 years old, has COPD, is a diabetic, has lung issues. He's the top tier of who needs to be tested. They told him there's nothing they could do. On the 2 days later, on Saturday, he ended up being taken to the hospital by ambulance, and within less than 24 hours, he had passed away. So
okay, Chase.
Yeah, I'll be fine. So that was my first week into being quarantined. And it infuriated me that, we keep hearing on the news that there's plenty of tests, but yet my dad couldn't get a test. He lived in Washington State, one of the worst hit states in the country, could not get a test. And passed. It wasn't his time. So since then, I've been in the house. I can't go out. My husband, even if I tried, won't let me. My husband was on quarantine because somebody on his job site tested positive for COVID. They sent 600 people home to be on, to stay off the job. And so my husband was on quarantine. We moved him. I didn't. He did. Moved himself into my son's bedroom. And then we always joke about kitchen witches. But I got online and ordered zinc and turmeric and vitamin C, things that are helpful for respiratory infections, and to ward off respiratory infections. Turmeric is known to kill viruses that have shells like COVID does. And then I bought thieves oil, a whole bunch of thieves oil, and I boil it on the stove with turmeric. What am I trying to say? Turmeric. The active ingredient is called cumin or something. Anyway, my oldest son says I'm witchy. But thieves oil was used during the Black Plague, and if you've seen the doctors' masks that look like beaks, they would put thieves' oil in the beak to be able to treat people with the plague, and so the doctors didn't get the plague themselves, but thieves would wear a mask over their face and put thieves' oil in the mask so that they could rob the people who were dying from the plague, and which is why it's called thieves' oil or robber's oil. And then that way they wouldn't get the plague. And I figured, what the F? If it's going to keep the plague away, we're going to boil it in the house. So it's got several different natural oils in there, clove and lemon and a whole bunch of stuff. And so every single day, we boil that on the stove all day long to help. I was telling my husband today, I said, the funny thing is we'll never know if that helped or not. We'll never know because how can you know? But I'll take a little extra precaution and I've always been somebody who likes to do natural healing kind of things. Garlic instead of antibiotics and stuff. My kids were rarely on antibiotics, rarely in their whole childhood. So I figured let's go back to nature and try and do that. I have health problems. I can't go to the doctor. I had to cancel a procedure that I was supposed to have. They canceled it. No unnecessary surgeries, even though it feels necessary. No unnecessary surgeries are allowed. I have a psychiatrist. I'm not going to be afraid to admit it. I do deal with anxiety. And so I have seen her through FaceTime. And I think that people who have anxiety, I'm sorry, Rob, that I'm going on and on. I think that it's strange, it's in a strange way, that people who have anxiety, a lot of us are doing better right now than people who have never dealt with anxiety. Because I've spent a good portion of my life building tools to help me deal with my body thinking that the worst possible thing is just around the corner. And so I have tools. I have a tool bag that I can use to help with things like that. Hot showers, puzzles, listening to music.
Art.
Yeah, art. Painting, writing. I have a tool bag full of things that help me get through anxiety, which is people who have never had that don't have. They don't have that built up. And I think psychologically, for those of us with anxiety, we finally went, okay, the worst possible thing is here. And we have a tool bag. And so we're kind of able to help other people to say, try this, try that, try crocheting, try knitting, try painting. These things that keep your hands busy are things that are repetitive. I have this stupid balloon game on my iPad that I just shoot these balls, boom, 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 but it takes my brain away. And I think that that's a very strange twist that, as it turns out, anxiety is a survival mechanism in cases of emergency. So, my father, they, as well as the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have died from this, you're not able to have funerals. You're not able to grieve in the way that the Western world grieves, or any way, I guess. We're not able to get together as groups. So it's been, I don't know. I was in a lockdown situation once because I lived in Washington State when Mount St. Helens blew, and they didn't know what the ash was going to do. So my parents kept us in the house for about 2 days, probably a week, because the government told us to. And we drove them nuts, so they bought us masks and told us to go ahead and go out and ride our bikes through literally a foot of ash. And then as soon as we got away from the house, we took our masks off because we were kids. uh, but so this kind of reminds me of that. But that's how it is here. My husband has to go out every day, and when he comes home, he literally takes his clothes off, throws it in the washer, takes a shower, disinfects everything he's touched. The doorknobs, the welcome mat, sprays his shoes. We're putting, vinegar in the laundry to kill things, and before he'll even come talk to me, he has been, sprayed down, scrubbed down, and that's a new reality.
Yeah.
Rob, do you think there's things that will always be different from now on for you?
Let me just get comfy. I think that this is I don't think the world's ever gonna go back to how it was.
In which ways?
I think a lot of this is misinformation, scaremongering by the government. I think that, in a way, especially in the UK, it was a way of driving people apart and frightening people. But I think it's done the opposite. It's made people look out for each other more. Well, in my case, it has, because like me and Tracy have discussed, we have, I have had a lot of my neighbours who have been absolutely, because I'm disabled and in a wheelchair, have been absolutely marvellous. And, I don't know what I'd have done without them. I mean, I've got, excuse me, a husband and wife, Nigel and Kerry, who are just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I mean, even we have an old lady that lives across the courtyard from me. Her daughter made her a vegetable casserole, and they made me a vegetable casserole as well. Just put the pot outside, and then they would leave the pot on my doorstep. And in that respect, I think it has been really eye-opening to see how people do care about each other. I think that is something that maybe will be different after this is all over. I think people, I can't just see people just not doing that anymore. I think, does that make sense, Trace?
Mm-hmm.
I think that people I think in one way it's good. Not good. Good's the wrong word. Maybe the world was just going round too quickly, and it was just everything was too loud. Do you know what I mean? I think this has let everybody just take a breath and maybe take a step back from themselves,
mm-hmm.
and really start to appreciate what we have. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've had the same issues over here that Tracy was talking about, where people have gone out buying loads of toilet rolls for some bizarre reason. I don't know why, because that isn't anything to do. It doesn't, but bulk buying, which the government put a stop to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the world probably could change for the better. I honestly do believe that. It's just, I don't know how you feel. I mean, I don't want to go all political, but I do think the government aren't telling us the whole story. And I do think there's been a lot of scaremongering.
What do you mean by scaremongering?
About the... Okay, right. We talked about this the other day. A friend of mine's friend had his... I'm sure it was his dad was quite elderly, who had COPD, and I think he'd lost a lung, and he was about 85 years old, and he had heart problems. He had a heart problem, and he went into hospital. And if you take COVID out of the equation, he was going to die. Do you know what I mean, Chase? He was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he died. He did die. Now, they blame that on COVID. He was one of the figures. He was put down as he died of COVID. Now, he was going to die anyway.
But ultimately, my dad's heart stopped beating. But his liver failed, his kidneys failed, his heart was the last to stop beating. He had COPD, but he was not in the hospital because of his COPD. He couldn't fight it because he had COPD. So was this man's heart problems, did it start with, okay, what I'm trying to say is this. Did they test him? Was he positive?
No, that was going to be my next thing.
Okay.
They're not testing people. And
well, that infuriates me. They're not testing people, keeps the numbers down. That makes me mad. So was he having symptoms of being a chest, respiratory infection before he went in, or did he I'm having a heart attack and have to go to the hospital?
I'm having a heart attack. I'm going to go to the hospital.
Okay.
And I think that I like you've already said, I am immune compromised.
Mm-hmm.
I've been isolating myself and my daughter, but I've had to go out because I've had to go out.
Yes.
And while I'm out, I wear gloves. I don't wear a mask. I wear gloves. Everywhere, all the shops are, they've got the floor marked out that you've got to keep 2 meters apart. Mm-hmm. I've been following all those protocols.
Right.
But it's really, really difficult and unrealistic to expect people to just stay in their homes and not move from their homes, especially if you've got young children. It's I mean, luckily I've got a big garden, so my daughter can go and play out in the garden with the dog. If you lived in a block of flats and you'd have a garden and you had 2 kids, then what? After a couple of weeks, you're going to be throwing them out the window. They're going to drive you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Hypothetically speaking, not they really, just to clear that up. People will start in England, they're throwing people out of windows, but
it's going to be on the news. See, because of my experience, I cannot see it that way. I can't see it that way. Because if they had started social distancing, my dad didn't go out of the house. He caught it from his wife who went out of the house and brought it back. If we had started wearing masks, social distancing, having to stand 6 feet apart in the grocery store, maybe it would have saved my dad's life. And a little fear mongering would have gone a long way for somebody to stay in their goddamn house and not infect my father. Because that's the bottom line. The bottom line is, if your kids are driving you nuts, imagine what it's going to be like if you don't have your kids anymore. I know that it's tough. I mean, it's tough. We've talked about this before. I'm an introvert. I don't like people. I don't like being amongst. I am shy. I am the shyest person you'll ever meet, which is hard to imagine. But being told you can't leave the house, or me physically not being unable to leave the house, it makes me, want to touch that hot burner. So I totally get that. But you can be symptom free, and that's the scary part to me. You can look fine, be symptom free, and because my dad's wife, who obviously isn't my mother, I would not call her my dad's wife, she was symptom free. She had a little bit of a fever. That was it. You can be symptom free and kill somebody. Not that she killed him. I mean, nobody needs to add that burden onto her. But, so I can't look at it like you can't ask people to stay in the house, because I don't want to lose anybody else. I've already lost my dad.
Yeah, I do understand that. I do completely agree with what you're saying. But I think because we're in different situations, like I live on my own.
Oh no, you have to go outside. There's no doubt about it. I'm not saying you don't have to go outside. No. There are plenty of people in your situation. Single moms, single dads, single people that they have no choice. They have no choice but to go outside. And I am excluding that out of people stay in your fucking house. I'm excluding that. You do have to. There's just no way around it. Go ahead.
Excuse me.
But I see people on my Facebook page who are having friends over and they're having barbecues.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
Somebody had a birthday party and they invited 20 people over, and I think, well, what in those 20 people's minds thought that would be a good idea? And those kinds of things where they're gathering in large groups is what's confusing to me. It's like I just want to shake them and go, but my dad died.
You okay?
Yes.
I think that, we've got, I heard something the other day that really shocked me to my core. That people are gathering, like groups of teenagers are gathering, and when the police are coming to disperse them, they're spitting at the police.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Which is it's disgusting. Whether it's COPD, whether it's coronavirus or not. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, right.
But at the end of the day, what can
Yeah.
We've got to, and I think while we're just talking about the police, I'd like to say, and I think we should have started by saying this, to be honest, Jace, that people like the nurses and the doctors and the police and the fire brigade, all these people who are there, like service personnel who are there trying to help us, they have got the biggest, should get the biggest, what's the word, support, you know.
Oh,
That,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Because they have family and loved ones who are terrified, and they still keep going out and selflessly helping us, and that's takes a special kind of person. Not just that, but I'd like to say that people whose jobs have been deemed essential, um, they are as well. You know, just yesterday, where Maya works, I don't want to name it, but it's my personal opinion is it's not essential. I don't think if I said it out loud, anybody on this who's listening would say that is essential. Um, they just started giving them masks yesterday. Um, and I mean, like I said, she literally is sick to her stomach. She handles cash, and they let them start using gloves the other day. But honestly, if you're not sanitizing your gloves like you would your hand, you might as well be using your hands,
yeah,
because you're taking that glove and you're touching your cell phone, and you're touching your car keys, and you're touching your face, and unless you're sanitizing and washing them, it's no different than your hands. But you know, those people out there in the grocery stores who are having to put up with people screaming at them because they don't have. My son works in an industry that has to do with grocery stores, and my oldest son, and people scream at him about not having. Why don't we have water? Why don't we have? They scream at him because they don't have the certain kind of pop is what I call it, but soda that they want, and that, that that's insane. People, you need to calm down. These people are out there working for you so that you can have your food and your essentials, and nobody needs to be yelling because you don't have your diet Dr Pepper. That's just ridiculous. So I think that you know everybody who's out there that would like to not have to, whose kids are not wanting them to go to work, and but they have to, but they're having, I'm not talking about stuff like that either. I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm talking about people who are getting together and having COVID parties so they can try to get it. If they have a friend who's sick and they're inviting everybody over so they can have a COVID party. People, we don't know if you have an immunity to this or not, or if you can get it, or if 20 years down the line, like chickenpox, you're going to get something like shingles, except for it's going to kick your ass.
yeah. I
We
agree.
don't know anything about that yet. So you having these COVID parties doesn't mean you're not going to get it again. They're seeing people who are getting it again, and it doesn't mean that you are, like I said, it's not going to lay dormant. If you have had it and you have had no symptoms, 20 years from now you don't know what's going to happen. So I'm talking about people who are being like intentionally defiant and ignorant at potentially the cost of somebody else's life. And I understand. I understand that people are losing their jobs, and they're afraid they're going to lose their house, or they are losing their house, or they're afraid they can't feed their family. Yeah, yeah, that's. I wish I had enough money to take care of everybody. I wish I could do that. And our stimulus check that we just got, a one-time stimulus check of $1,200, isn't enough to sustain people, to pay their mortgage, their car payments, their insurance payments, their food, whatever. It's not enough. If you want people to be able to stay home and not leave, then you have to make sure that they're not terrified that they're going to lose everything they've worked for their whole life. Because that's what they're terrified. That they're going to lose they lost their job. They're going to lose. Yesterday, my oldest son had 5 friends, a company they all worked for. They all lost their jobs, and ironically, Jory had applied at this company 10 times, and he never got hired. And at the time, 10 times, it was a bad thing. And today he's like, I talk about that Garth Brooks song, Unanswered Prayers.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, I think that we need to do what other countries are doing, like Canada, and do more so that people are going and protesting right now that they want the country opened again. A lot of those people are people who were living paycheck to paycheck. Statistics say that everybody in America, most people in America, are 2 paychecks away from being homeless. So
Yeah.
What are they looking at? What are they looking at right now? Being homeless. And we need to do more so that people aren't just living and being healthy and not getting COVID, but also being able to be mentally healthy and stable as well.
Can I just sort of coming away from COVID, for not coming away from it completely, but something that's really annoying me, and I know it annoys you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Both myself and you, we have a number of things wrong with us.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that is really annoying me, you probably know what I'm going to say anyway, is the fact that everybody seems to have forgot there are other illnesses that are going on at the same time as coronavirus. And everybody seems to forget about that.
Yeah, as an example, you are having a very, very, very difficult time getting help for something very serious.
Yeah, with my legs.
Yes.
But, I've got to ring up the GPs today and beg to get a doctor to come out today to come and see me, because they won't let me in the surgery because I'm immune compromised, and they're saying that it's for my own safety. But is it for my own safety, or is it for their safety? It's a little bit of sort of swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Because they're thinking, well, maybe because I'm immune compromised, I'm more likely to have the coronavirus. So if I go to somewhere like the GPs, I'm spreading it. Which annoys me slightly. Well, it doesn't annoy me slightly. It annoys me a lot. Well,
yeah, I got a phone call from my doctor saying, if you've traveled in the last 30 days, don't come in. If you are immune compromised, don't come in. If you have any symptoms of allergies, a cold, or the flu, don't come in. And it just gives this whole list, like, if you have blue eyes, don't come in. If you have brown eyes, don't come in. It was crazy. And then they were saying that if you did come in, then you had to wear long pants, 2 pairs of socks, shoes, long sleeve shirt, gloves, a hat, which was interesting, and a mask. And I was like, there's nobody left on your list. Who is this invisible man who's going to be walking in? because that's what it's going to look like. You know, who is this one sole survivor who made it through that list and can go into your office?
Oh, it's crazy.
I mean, I was out of there in the first two. And it was like, if you've traveled anywhere out of country in the United States, anywhere, you can't come in. I was like, me, I never go anywhere. Just happen to be traveling to 2 or 3 different states.
So, of any of the in America, has there been any ban on traveling from state to state?
No, but I do know that Houston, Texas, if you come here from Louisiana, you are on quarantine. Wherever you're going, you are in quarantine, and they are going to wherever you told them you're traveling to. They are going there and making sure you are there. And if you're not, you will be arrested.
Ooh.
So, because Louisiana got really bad because you know what they did? They decided, and the governor himself has admitted this, he didn't want to shut down Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they had Mardi Gras, and then boom, they just got their asses kicked with COVID cases.
Well, they actually had Mardi Gras.
Yeah. They had Mardi Gras. The mayor didn't want to. The mayor said no. Governor said do it. They had Mardi Gras, and boy, they just got their asses kicked.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, crazy. I think Houston is having a major rodeo coming up that they haven't canceled, I believe. You know, I think, I don't know. You know, because you said I don't like people telling me what to do. I think that I think that there is, you know, like I said, you know, I feel like if you tell me don't touch the stove, then I have to touch the stove. I think there is a lot of that involved. But I also think that you give too much credit to human beings to think that if they're not having the hammer brought down on them and saying stay in your house, you know, I'm not saying arrest somebody who goes outside. I don't. But if they're not having the hammer down, or you call fear mongering, I think if they're not having that happen, humans are sort of
stupid.
Yeah, it well, you know, and another thing besides just being maybe not stupid so much as we can't grasp this. You know, if it's something you can see, like if rats were causing the Black Plague, and you can see rats, right? Or there was something walking around causing this. There was a zombie apocalypse, and we could see it. We can go, oh shit, this is bad. We need to do this and that. But when it's this invisible thing, and you think, and at first they were saying younger people won't get it. Now that's not true. You know, there's all this information that's wrong and changing by the minute. And humans tend to go, it won't happen to me. I would have thought if it happened to my dad, and I think I would have had the same. I think I would have thought other people's family are going to get this. Just like the people who are listening to me right now will think other people's family will get this. It wouldn't. I don't think it would have really set into me that it was possible that I would lose my father. So I think it's just hard to imagine something that you can't see, get your hands around. If you see something and you can get your hands around it, you can. If people feel like I can fight that, but when it's in the air, and I think it's easier to dismiss it.
Mm.
You know, people missed Easter. They don't want to miss summer. You know, I put something up on my Facebook that said, "Stay in the house, save Halloween." You know, I want to be out here by Halloween. People, stay in your house. You know, it's just they're getting antsy, and there's a whole lot of psychological things going on and monetary things. So, do you have things that you do that help you with stress, depression, and anxiety that you are finding that you can use in this time besides crack?
Talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you. I agree.
Art.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol.
Are you being serious?
Alcohol always helps. I have a because I've had that many IVs in. I've learned to teach myself to put an IV line in, and I've got it connected up to a bottle of rum constantly. So I'm always literally on rum. It's keeping me alive at the moment.
Oh my God.
Because the COVID virus can't live in rum, I've been told.
Did you hear about those people who drank the fish tank cleaner because it had the chemical that the president was talking about could fight COVID? Not the medication, but this particular chemical. So they drank it, and they in Arizona, and they died because, I mean, fish tank cleaner, people, come on. But
no, I've not heard that. I've not heard that.
Yeah. Have you really been drinking?
No more than usual. No more than usual.
Yeah, talking to you helps me. Well, in any situation, really.
Thank you.
Well, you're my bestie.
Oh, thanks. People are throwing up now.
I know. They're like, oh my God. Can we talk about something dead now, please? Like I said, I have my tricks. I like drinking something hot helps me to feel calm. Painting helps me to feel calm. Binge watching something completely stupid can help me feel calm. But I actually like to watch like documentaries, serious documentaries. That for some reason it makes me calm. There are certain kinds of movies that make me feel calm. End of the world movies, which is strange. If a meteor is going to hit the Earth, though, that's a movie that makes me feel calm. Maybe that has to do with the fact that, like I said, my anxiety, everybody's anxiety is just preparing us for the worst possible thing. So I watched a meteor coming, and I'm like, phew, thank God it's finally happening. I don't know. But I have this blanket that's not weighted, but it's heavy because it used to be an electric blanket, so it has like wires through it. I keep that on my lap all the time because the weight of it makes me feel I carry my blanket around. Not like that.
Your blanket.
I carry my blanket around. But it's soft. petting my dog.
Yeah, we take the dog for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
We like to do that.
Yeah.
Take him for a walk at night as well when it's dark, and don't let the bed bugs bite and all that malarkey.
Reading helps me. Reading is a good way to take you out of. Reading is a way to get out of the house. You can go to any kind of world you want.
Yeah, imagination.
Yeah, I like that. So, if you guys want to leave below, what are you doing? Are you deemed essential? And does that worry you or worry your family? What do you do to help with the fears that are, most people are feeling right now? The fear of, the disease, of your jobs. Some people are able to work from home. Like my daughter is working from home, but a lot of the essential people can't. And I think that's fearful for them and their families.
Yeah.
How do you guys deal with that? Are you washing your hands? This is what I think is going to be. This is what I think is going to be different for the rest of my life. This is how this is going to, Rob, we've talked about this. After the Great Depression, the people who went through that were never the same again. They were, for lack of a better word, cheap for the rest of their lives because they never wanted to be caught poor again. My grandma would put a dollar bill in a card and tell us to save it because you never know when you're going to need it. So I always joke that from now on, this gives me the right to put a square of toilet paper in my grandchildren's cards and tell them to save it because they never know when they're going to need it. But
now.
I would give a square of toilet paper now, but we don't have any to spare. I think I will think of, I was just talking today with Maya about how just utterly disgusting payphones were, which we all used without thinking twice about it, right? Like, who knows who coughed and God knows what was on those handles and mouthpieces, and we use those without even thinking about it, right? And I told her, I said, I wonder if that helped build our immune systems. Did that help build our immune systems to use one of those nasty payphones? Because I'm torn now, because as I've said to you before, I don't believe in using hand sanitizer. I don't believe in it like it's a thing you can believe in. I don't practice using hand sanitizer because hand sanitizer kills good bacteria as well. Therefore, weakens our immune system. Therefore, makes it easier for us to get sick. I practically bathe in that shit right now. I'm like, hand sanitizer, big globs come out over my face, my hands, my arms, and and that's after I literally wash my hands and then use hand sanitizer. I was talking to Maya about the payphones, and she went and got a Lysol disinfectant wipe and wiped down her whole bathroom because we were talking about germs. She said that they were showing on one of those like Mythbusters and about how viruses spread. And there was a guy who was sick, and 2 people knew he was sick, 2 people didn't. And what he had was something that came out of his nose, and you could only see it with black light. And so the two people that knew he was sick wanted to stay away from him. The two people that didn't know he was sick, they didn't have any reason to. So they put this stuff on this guy and had him act it out and all this stuff. And the two people that didn't know he was sick were covered in his germs. Well, one of the people that knew he was sick still ended up like half covered in his germs, and the only person that didn't get covered in the germs, didn't have hardly any at all, was the person who was a germaphobe and was constantly washing their hands.
Mm.
And I think that probably it's going to change a lot of people's views of what is acceptably clean from now on. Because, I mean, they have like hosed down the subways in New York. It's spotless. All the grocery stores are spotless. You walk in, my husband's like, I walk in and everybody's got disinfectant wipes in their hands and they're wiping everything down. I think of how many times we touched the debit card thing, to put your PIN in. Dude. I always use my knuckle because I don't want to use my finger because I've always thought it was disgusting. Now I'm going to see if I can use my elbow. Can we make the buttons a little bigger, please? I think we will all be much cleaner.
Yeah.
I think that's something we're going to take away. I think I will never be caught with like, oh, I don't have any food in the house. That's never going to happen to me again. I'm never gonna be like, this is our last toilet roll. Can you bring some home from work? Nope. That's not ever gonna happen again either. I'm gonna have enough toilet paper for a couple weeks now. If we can ever get any. Do you think it'll change the way you buy?
Yeah, no, not really.
You think that you might be down to your last toilet paper roll someday?
Well, I don't actually use toilet paper, do I, Trace? Because of my toilet.
Yeah, but your daughters.
Well, so I just buy a pack of 4 and that's usually lasts. I have a special toilet because I'm disabled. If anyone's wondering why I don't use toilet paper, I don't just use my hand.
Wait, I thought you did.
No.
Oh.
Only on the weekends.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You think you'll only have a 4-pack of toilet paper in your house for your daughters?
Yeah.
Holy shit, Rob. You're mentally stronger than me.
I've never been one to be like that, though. I don't like following the
Me
trends.
either. I've never been one to be like that, too. But you know what? These farks that went out and loaded up on all the toilet paper, they put everybody into survival mode. Everybody had to go out and fight for scraps of chicken breast and toilet paper and paper towels because they were all buying it all up. And then you're like, well, I need mine too. People should just calm down. Shop the way you normally shop, for God's sakes.
Calm down.
Calm down. Is that why somebody asked me what country I'm from? Calm down.
Sounded Canadian then.
Well, my accent is part based. North Dakota has a Canadian type of accent, and mine comes partly from North Dakota, blah, 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 blah. So occasionally I sound Canadian. Well, tell me below, what's going to change are your buying habits going to change? Are you going to have, are you going to be a hoarder now? I'm gonna hoard. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna whore. Well, if
It's a
worse
whole
comes
different
to
podcast.
worse. That was interesting.
I didn't want to say anything then, but
Yeah, I think that would be best. I'm going to have disinfectant wipes from here to eternity, if I could ever find any. That's for sure. And I'm going to appreciate outside a lot more.
Yeah.
I actually thought, oh my God, I hope we can get out in time for me to be able to use the pool this summer. That thought has never crossed my mind before. I hope we can go out and get in the water I don't like to be in.
It's so funny.
So while you guys are in the house, Rob and I are in our house too. So leave comments, because I'll write you back. I'll tell you all my deepest, darkest secrets. No, I won't. You wouldn't believe me even if I did.
No, you wouldn't. You
I'll tell you, Rob. So
it's alright. I don't know about that.
There's not enough time in the day.
No, probably not. You're probably right about that. You're probably
Rob
right.
and I are here sitting talking to each other, trying to solve the world's problems.
Well, you don't have to tell anyone anyway, because they just need to listen to when you don't turn the podcast off.
I know. Are you saying I talk too much?
How I don't understand women. How does that relate to that? How does that relate to that? It doesn't even. It's like
Do we have to have a whole other podcast about how to understand women? Because I don't even know where to start with that.
It just baffles me how I can say one thing and you can take it completely the wrong way.
It's my job.
Somehow, the fact that you left the podcast running is my fault.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you guys, when I left the podcast running for 5 hours, and thank you again, Brian, Diabolical Witness, for contacting me like my house was on fire. Because it was. I left it running for 5 hours, and when I turned it off, I said to my husband, how do I make this Rob's fault? So I called him and I go, guess what you did? He's like, what? What did I do now? I'm sorry, Rob. It's hard for you to be friends with me.
People think you're joking, but she's not.
I'm not joking. I didn't really want to make it your fault. I wished it had been your fault. But it was my own stupidity. It wasn't being stupid. I didn't know. No. It was ignorance, not stupidity.
Ignorance is bliss.
That's what they say. I wouldn't know.
So,
all right.
Have you got anything else you'd like to say about the subject we're talking about? Have you anything else?
No, I don't have any deep thoughts left. I do want to say this. You know, we are all in this together, and it is nice that people are reaching out and helping each other, and don't be afraid to do that if you need help, or if this is mentally pushing your limits. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody. There are literally millions of people who are going through this and feel the same way.
Billions of people.
Yeah, billions of people. The whole entire world. Maybe not Antarctica. Billions of people. And it's tough. And it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah. And also on a serious note, if you have lost a loved one, like Tracy, to the coronavirus, then our deepest sympathies go out to you. And we hope that by talking about it, maybe it will make things a little bit more bearable. And
yeah,
you know, we don't. Sometimes if you can share how you feel, it can make things a little bit better. But our deepest sympathies go out to you if you have lost a loved one or a friend or anyone to this horrible, horrible virus.
Yes, absolutely. Stay 6 feet apart, people.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be over soon.
There. Yeah, hang in there. We're all just hanging in there.
Yeah. We are. So is there anything else you'd like? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just leave comments below. Talk to us. Tell us how you're feeling. Tell us how you're getting through it. You know, what your situation is. You know, if you're in a bad way, you know, feel free to. This is a safe space. Any unkind comments will be deleted immediately, so you can try it, but it's not going to stay. So if you want to post anything about how you're feeling, you don't have to worry about being attacked.
Yeah, 100%. We're always checking the comments anyway, so.
Yep. All right, you guys. Thanks for hanging out. And Rob, I didn't even make a s'more while we were sitting by the fire.
What do you like?
Oh my God! No hot chocolate or anything.
Not a very good host, are you?
I know. It's terrible. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye. Stay safe.
Yes, stay safe, please. Bye.
Bye.